Kermode and Mayo's Film Review. Kermode and Mayo's Film Review was a radio program with Mark Kermode and Simon Mayo, broadcast on BBC Radio 5 live on Friday afternoons. The show was self-described as a BBC flagship film program and featured film reviews from Kermode, interviews with actors and other guests, and listeners' emails. The program's Twitter handle, Wettertainment, was a nickname for the program itself. The show was broadcast live and accompanied by a live streaming webcam feed. Each program was available on BBC Sounds and as a podcast. Individual reviews were available in an A-to-Z directory on the 5 Live website, or as videos on YouTube. The show was BBC Radio's second most downloaded podcast, and fourth in the BBC list of most downloaded shows from 2004 to 2014. On 11 March 2022, Simon Mayo announced that the program would end its run on BBC Radio 5 Live, with the final show being broadcast on 1 April 2022. Following the final show, the duo announced on social media that the format would continue on a new twice-weekly podcast, Kermode and Mayo's Take. History. Kermode and Mayo first appeared together on BBC Radio 1 in the 1990s. The full program started on Radio 5 Live in 2001 as a short review segment on the Friday episode of Mayo's weekday afternoon show. Upon reuniting on Radio 5 Live, the relationship continued just as it had on Radio 1, with Kermode recalling his first words may have been "and another thing." In 2005, a podcast version of Kermode and Mayo's program was made available. According to Brett Spencer, who worked for Radio 5 Live at the time, it was downloaded 42 times in the first week. In 2009, the show received a Sony Radio Academy Award. When Mayo started presenting BBC Radio 2's weekday driver time program, the movie reviews were kept on 5 Live and expanded to 2 hours to become a show in its own right from 14:00 every Friday. In June 2011, it was announced that BBC had signed a 2-year agreement for the program to be produced by Something Else Sound Directions. The company was slated following a competitive process that also included pitches from Hidden Flack, the talent management and production company whose clients include Kermode and Nigel Floyd. The change after 10 years was part of an effort by the BBC to have more of its radio shows produced from outside production companies. The change became effective 7 October 2011, as of the date Simon Poole was the show's producer, Robin Bullock was its editor, and Rowan Woods was the guest booker. As of July 2019, Simon Poole was the show's editor. Something Else announced its intention to build the profile of the Kermode and Mayo brand online with more podcast downloads and a new digital strategy. The program had an average audience of 585,000 listeners. For the month of August 2014, the podcast was downloaded 1.6 million times, a monthly BBC Radio milestone exceeded only by The Archers. The show was fourth on the BBC list of most downloaded shows of the past decade, with 50.6 million. Kermode and Mayo's Take. On 11 March 2022, Kermode and Mayo announced that the show would be coming to an end on 5 Live, saying 21 years is a long time to be clogging up the schedules. We and no one else have decided to step away. The last edition aired on 1 April with Mayo leaving the BBC after 40 years. Immediately after coming off air, the new podcast Kermode and Mayo's Take was announced by Something Else, now part of Sony Music Entertainment's global podcast division. This replacement review show, starting in May 2022, will include discussions about television series as well as films, with the Take 2 version of the podcast being exclusive to subscribers. Format. The first hour of the show normally began with a rundown of the week's top 10 films, with brief comments or capsule reviews from Kermode for films he had seen. Mayo read comments and reviews from listeners on all of the films. The rest of the first hour featured live or pre-recorded interviews with guests, usually actors or directors promoting an upcoming release. The second hour was devoted to full reviews of recently released films. A number of different additional features were included throughout the 21 years of the show's history, with WTF What's That Film, where Kermode tries to name a half-remembered film, being the last weekly regular feature of this kind on the show. Towards the end of the program, Kermode identified the best film to watch that week on British free-to-air television channels and TV movie So Bad It's Bad. In the 2010s, Kermode noticed that the quality of some of the films broadcast by the Channel 5 star had been substandard, with many titles due to be broadcast on the channel picking up that week's TV movie So Bad It's Bad award. The final film picked for this feature was Grown Ups, an Adam Sandler film which was due to be broadcast at 5:10 p.m. on 2 April 2022 on 5 Star. At the end of each show, Kermode identified his film of the week from the ones reviewed that week. In February 2012, a new DVD of the week feature started, with Kermode identifying noteworthy DVD releases during the program. Throughout each show, Kermode and Mayo engaged in on-air sparring that was compared to a bickering married couple. The decade-long partnership included numerous in-jokes and ongoing arguments. Kermode's negative reviews are referred to by the presenters and fans as Kermodian rants. Regular guests. Various actors made multiple appearances on the show, particularly Jason Isaacs, Michael Sheen and David Morrissey, and were referred to as friends of the show. During each program, a number of these friends were greeted in a list, beginning and hello to. Jason Isaacs is always the first on the list, having been a school friend of Kermode, but other people named in the past include Michael Sheen, David Morrissey, Stephen Fry, and various English folk groups. When searching for Jason Isaacs on Google UK, the phrase "Hello to Jason Isaacs" appears before the search results. The phrase has also made an appearance on The Jay Leno Show, having been inserted into various on-screen graphics, whilst Isaacs was a guest on the podcast version of the final episode, added to BBC Sounds on 1 April 2022. Stand-in presenters. Alternative presenters when Kermode and Mayo were away. The most regular replacements for Kermode were former Radio 1 critic James King, and Boyd Hilton, television and review editor of Heat magazine, and Nigel Floyd, film critic for Time Out magazine, commonly referred to as Boyd and Floyd. Later stand-in reviewers included Daily Telegraph film critic Robbie Collin, Radio Times film editor Andrew Collins, independent contributor Clarice Luffy, and film program and writer Anna Bogoskaya. Replacements for Mayo have included Al Murray, Colin Patterson, Zoe Ball, David Morrissey, Joe Wiley, Colin Murray, Edith Bowman, Richard Bacon, Ben Bailey-Smith, and Sanjeev Bhaskar. Special broadcasts. Alongside the regular show, there were a number of special broadcasts. These included an annual review of the year show, pre-recorded and broadcast on New Year's Eve, during which Kermode named his best and worst films of the year, a Christmas quiz, broadcast on Christmas Eve with special guests and recorded with a live audience, and occasional outside broadcasts, for example, from the Phoenix Cinema in East Finchley, a 2009 broadcast from the Edinburgh International Film Festival, or during sporting events when Mayo's show comes from the location of the event. On its 10th anniversary, the show was broadcast from the new BBC Media City UK in Salford, featuring film music played by the BBC Philharmonic. As part of the performance of the score from Midnight Cowboy, Kermode played the harmonica solo with the orchestra after volunteering at the roundtable discussion, not realising the part required the chromatic harmonica rather than the diatonic harmonica, the instrument he plays. After the broadcast on Radio 5 finished, there was more discussion and music on sister station BBC Radio 3 later that evening. The music for the broadcast was chosen by guests for a special roundtable discussion, released as a bonus podcast, except for one decision between the music for Jaws and Indiana Jones, which was open to the public for a text vote, with the winner Indiana Jones being announced on Friday 27 May. The guests for the roundtable discussion were Andrew Collins, Paloma Faith, Richard Wigley, and Robert Ziegler. Other 10th anniversary extras during a month of special programming in May and June 2011 include a best of, broadcast on 29 May 2011, presented by Hugh Bonville, an appearance on The Richard Bacon Show on 31 May 2011 discussing the beginning of the partnership, and 4 online videos. Cinema Code of Conduct. In 2010, Kermode and Mayo developed a Cinema Code of Conduct which was presented as a guide to cinema goers as to the best way to behave while watching a film. During the development of the code, listeners were invited to submit suggestions for what should be included. The Cinema Code of Conduct consists of the following rules: no eating anything harder than a soft roll, no slurping, no rustling, no responsible parenting, no hobbies, no talking, no mobile phone usage, no kicking of seats, no arriving late, no shoe removal except where culturally appropriate, such as in Japan. Related productions. Kermode and Mayo have also appeared on The Culture Show with a segment called The Screening Room, held in various locations, where films were discussed with an audience before clips of those films were shown. Kermode also had a video blog on the BBC website, called Kermode Uncut, where he invited discussion from viewers and often continued or began discussions which related back to the radio show. The blog came to an end in December 2018. During his review of Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, Kermode made a passing comment that it was so similar to the Harry Potter franchise it might as well be called Benjamin Sniddlegrass and the Cauldron of Penguins. Listener Jeremy Dillon then took this title and produced posters, a trailer and, eventually, an independent film based on the concept, with Stephen Fry as narrator. Following the basic structure of the Harry Potter books, where the main character discovers special abilities and goes to a special school, the script contains a multitude of references to entertainment jokes and themes. In 2015, Kermode and Mayo co-authored a book called The Movie Doctors, published by Canon Gate Books. The title is a reference to a joke on the radio show regarding Mark Kermode being a real doctor, having been awarded a PhD from the University of Manchester in 1991, while Simon Mayo is a fake doctor, having become Doctor of Letters after receiving an honorary degree from the University of Warwick in 2005. In April 2020, the BBC commissioned a 6-part television show titled Kermode and Mayo's Home Entertainment Service to be broadcast on BBC4 to cover film and television available to stream during the COVID-19 pandemic. Awards: Gold Speech Award, Sony Awards 2009 Best Specialist Contributor, Mark Kermode, Sony Awards 2010 Listener's Choice Award, British Podcast Awards 2017 Listener's Choice Award, British Podcast Awards 2018.